Okay, so one of the things I try to do on this channel is be diverse and hit a lot of different toy lines. And I know I've had a lot of videos specifically on He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. In fact, I had one just yesterday. Well, the thing is, Mattel just keeps dropping the reveals. There's like been so many reveals in the last 2 weeks, and it's a little crazy because Masters of the Universe is, I don't want to say it's struggling at retail right now, but I mean, it is on clearance at Target. So it's definitely kind of mixed messages when you see items showing up in the clearance aisle, but you also see new waves revealed. Honestly, I'm not sure what to make of it. It's absolutely mixed messaging. I'm just going to go with happiness. How about that? I mean, I think a big part of this is because Masters of the Universe finally won a toady. I don't know if it's ever won a toady before. I mean, they weren't around in the 80s, so I guess that could be a reason. It probably would have. But yeah, when you win a toady, Toy of the Year, and in this case, MOTU Revelation or Masterverse won for the action figure category. They have Toys of the Year for lots of categories, as well as an overall Toy of the Year. In this case, it was Squishmallows, but that's not important right now. The point is, when you win a toady, you get to slap that logo all over your website and the product, and it does help to sell it. So that could be a big reason why there's now a new push, because with a toady behind it, hey, naked jitsu makes so much more sense because you're going to draw in parents who are going to see that toady logo and say, hey, this is a quality product, because when you win a toady, it usually means that you have the backing of the Toy Association of America saying this is a quality line. So, hey, that is probably definitely a lot of the fuel why we're seeing so many reveals, and I covered a lot of these in that video I did yesterday. But let's talk about even more reveals, because I'm drowning in reveals. I think the one that has me the most excited is this here. So the character you're looking at is Hero, He-R-O. This is crazy, because this is the very first time a Hero action figure has ever been sold at retail, which is awesome and amazing. Let's just put that down. If you're wondering who the heck this character is, he was going to be the main character behind the 1987-1988 relaunch or continuation of the Vintage Masters brand. He was going to be an ancestor of He-Man who also had great magic powers. Unfortunately, that line never happened, but because he showed up in the catalog image, we did a classics version of him back in, 2009, was it? I want to say, for Comic-Con. Made sense. And made sense to do, different variants for the show with the different spell stones, celebrating him, and it made sense as a convention item because he never got made. Years later, Super 7 did a sort of recreation of what the figure would have looked like had he been released in '87, but we never actually got him. So that's why he's always sort of been a kind of behind-the-scenes fan favorite. So the fact that we're now seeing him at retail, finally, it could be because he's had more exposure. He's been in the Revelation show as one of the He-Men of Legend, which I was particularly thought was cool because I kind of created this concept in Classics, and the fact that it was adapted into the Revelation continuity I thought was just awesome because I was really proud of this concept. All right, so yeah, we're getting Hero. He's going to be at retail. That's crazy. It's awesome, and I really hope he appeals to kids and collectors because he is a little obscure, but the fact that he's now showing up in the animation and that he's had a Classics figure for 10 years now, gosh, wow, it's that long. It definitely, makes him a lot more acceptable. All right, the next one that's a little mind-blowing is Sunman here in the Masterverse 7-inch line. So, for those of you who may have been living under Iraq for the last few months, Sunman was created in the 80s by a African-American mom who felt that there should be more aspirational toys for her son. I did a whole video on it, and you should definitely check out sort of the origins of Sunman and how he came to be, because it's a really amazing toy story, if you will. And, it's definitely has a lot of pro-entrepreneur and diversity and just, very kind of pro-toy messaging. And it was a great brand. It's back. It's back because Mattel has licensed the brand from the creators. So again, you can check out the whole story on my channel. I'll put a link at the end of this video to the Sunman one. Now, Sunman was first shown as being part of the MOTU world at PowerCon last year. Mattel is licensing Sunman from the creators so that they could put him and his cast of characters into MOTU product lines. The first one, again, being this exclusive for PowerCon on a Sunman card, and now we're going to get more and more Sunman figures released at retail, both in the Origins line and now in Masterverse. I've mentioned before how the Sunman line makes so much sense for Mattel because all of the characters have almost no tooling. They're basically heads and armor, and they're all the same arms and legs and basic body. So it makes it very, very easy to translate them into toys since they have even more common parts than, heck, even Masters of the Universe figures. The fact that we're now getting him in 2 different lines definitely shows how much Mattel is embracing the Sunman license. And, well, I definitely have, well, I want to call it some theories, call it a internet conspiracy. I'm totally making this up. I have absolutely no evidence of this. But just looking at the facts on paper, which is how I tend to look at all problems, well, we know that Sunman is now being incorporated into multiple Masters of the Universe toy lines. And the ownership of Masters of the Universe, well, people like to say there's some debate. I think it's pretty clear that it's not a question of ownership. Universal owns Masters of the Universe, or at least it will next year. I mean, it's because they bought Classic Media. Classic Media owned Masters of the Universe. That's why we paid a royalty for every Classics figure. So maybe they can still do it past 2023. Maybe they've made a deal with Universal. I don't know, but I have to wonder if maybe if they are losing He-Man, maybe Sunman is being groomed as a replacement? I guess we'll find out. All right, well, next up we have a absolute classic Mattel figure, She-Ra, originally released as a doll in the 1980s to go with the cartoon show that was a tie-in to Masters of the Universe, She-Ra being He-Man's sister, kind of like Luke and Leia, except without the romance and the kissing. And while she was originally a doll back in the 80s because the girls group came in and sort of took her from the boys group because they're like, we want to design the dolls. Yeah, there was some jealousy about how much He-Man was selling, and the Barbie group was like, wait a minute, we no longer have the #1 brand? The original version of She-Ra had a mask that was going to cover her face. It was going to be her secret identity, kind of like Batman or, I don't know, who else has a secret identity? No one really. I think Batman's the only one in the world who does. Okay, I can't think of another example. But in order to protect her secret identity, she would have a mask. The kids, the girls in the test groups, however, put the mask on upside down because they wanted to see She-Ra's pretty face. And by the time this made it to the animated series, the mask, which was meant to go the other way, became these wings on the side of her head, and she got kind of a very distinct Filmation look. When we did the She-Ra figure in Classics, we tried to pay homage to this by having 2 different heads, and one of them had a reversible mask, so you could do it both the prototype and the way kids did it. And then we included a second head that was the Filmation head with the wings. So you basically had 3 different options: mask up, mask down, or swap the heads entirely and do the Filmation look. Now, one of the weird, unfortunate things about the way we did this is while it gave fans more options of how they wanted to display She-Ra, she wasn't meant to be displayed without her mask on. And there was some sort of anger over this because it required, there was a peg hole in her forehead for the mask to plug into. So some people took that as very anti-female and that we hated She-Ra and that we were sexist by drilling a hole in her head. Never the intention, just trying to maximize the looks. So I see that Masterverse is kind of going for the same thing. We have 2 heads. Granted, the second head you can only do the mask down, but hey, it still totally works. And I love that there's 2 different cape options, and she gets her shield, which she can turn her sword into through the stone. Awesome. All right, and then continuing from the reveals earlier in the week, the CGI Netflix show is getting 7-inch highly articulated figures in the Masterverse line, since Masterverse is now being shown as being sort of all different styles and, animation, cartoon, etc., etc. Very nice that it pairs with the Skeletor, and I think these are going to be great figures. I'm really big into the new interpretation. I think the CGI show, honestly, is wonderful, and I hope it really catches on. Oh, Battle Armor He-Man, and look what they did with Battle Armor He-Man. They gave him a beard. Oh, God, I love it. It's so barbarian and rugged, and I don't know, maybe you're just thinking he, stole this beard from someone else.
Your haircut? Notice you've copied my beard.
All right, what can I say? Beards are popular. But if you want He-Man without a beard in his classic look, well, look no further than this 40th anniversary He-Man that was revealed in sort of a quasi-vintagey packaging. It's funny, this was actually the with the burst like that we looked at this type of packaging for Classics. Now, Great figure. Love that he comes with alternate hands, can hold his sword in the iconic pose, which the old figure and the classics figure could not do, which is really cool. We tried fixing that with New Adventures He-Man with more articulated wrists, but I think it really does take that uniquely sculpted hand to do this. So, very cool figure, especially if you don't have any of the classics figures. It kind of amazes me how many people in the comments section say, oh, if I only knew about classics when it was out, I would have bought it. So if you missed out on this He-Man, you can now get one that's close. Obviously, not as many paint ops. It's sort of, cost reduced for retail. So you can see that he's got sort of brighter colors, which, again, works because that's how the original toy was. For classics, the whole idea was to give as much deco as possible, and we were able to do that because we didn't have the restraints of retail pricing. So, while he definitely looks more like a toy and less like a warrior, hey, that's what he should look like, so nice. Now, I know we've gotten a tease that there's a lot more for Revelation to come. We don't know if the show is going to get a second season, but boy, are we drowning in toys. I hope you've enjoyed how much we have, because it's a really special time to be a He-Man fan. I mean, we're getting Hero. We're getting Hero, the unmade figure from the 1987 line, finally at retail. And to me, that just makes my He-Man year because, hey, he was always supposed to be a retail toy, and until now, he's been restricted to conventions. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do repost it, share it, like it, all that stuff. It helps tell YouTube to continue with the algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. New videos daily, only on Spectra Creative.